What's up, everybody? So good to have you joining us today.
Hope that you're doing well and still growing in your faith.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Jesse.
Yeah.
I have a trivia question for you.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay.
What we got?
What is the number one command given in the Bible? Okay. So the number one command given in the Bible.
Okay, it's got to be do not lie.
Okay. Well, that's a good command, but that's not the one.
Okay, let me try honor your parents.
Okay. Another good one, but it's not correct.
Love your neighbor.
No.
Do not murder.
No.
Give it to me. What is it?
Okay. It's the command, do not be afraid.
Of course.
Yeah, do not be afraid. Over 300 times it's recorded in Scripture.
Wow.
I mean, it's almost like God knew, right, that we were going to be afraid. Like he knew that, yeah, there's going to be times in our life that we're going to be worried. And there's probably times in our life that we're going to feel some anxiety.
Yeah. Look, okay, God obviously knew that anxiety was going to be a challenge for us.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is, we don't have to look very far to see that anxiety is a big problem in the world today.
So true.
I mean, like even you and I, and in our work, when we work with teenagers,
Yeah.
we see the effect that anxiety is having on their life.
Yeah. So the question is, what do we do?
Well, okay, our goal is to help students live God out loud, like never before, right?
Right. Like this video, like this is the goal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right here, right now. We'll help them live God out loud. So we're going to need to talk about anxiety and how they, as students of faith, can actually navigate these moments of anxiety.
Okay, so what you're saying is like today in this video, we need to unpack anxiety.
That's right. It's a big conversation.
Listen, I don't know if we could unpack anxiety like in one video, so we'll probably have to do two.
Okay.
Okay.
Where do you want to start?
Okay, well, why don't we start with we need to understand what we need to understand about anxiety.
All right, let's start at the beginning.
Okay, so the first thing that we need to understand when it comes to anxiety is that anxiety is a feeling.
Okay.
Okay, so, and these anxious feelings, I mean, they can grow and they can cause a lot of disruption in our lives. You know what I'm talking about, right? Like, all of a sudden, you got that knot in your stomach, you feel like you can't breathe, and you start to sweat, and you feel your heart racing, and you're like, oh, all those things is your body's natural response, right, to the stress or pressure that you are in, right? So it's a feeling. So let me ask you a question, Jesse. What makes you feel anxious?
Okay, everything you described, it's me right now. This kind of stuff,
Okay.
I'm just glad I'm not doing it alone. So
All right.
my anxiety's lower now that you're here with me.
Well, that's good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Okay, what about you? What do you got?
Okay, well, for me, what really causes me anxious, and I really didn't even know I really struggled with this until the last little while. Okay. I've never liked confined spaces, but I'm realizing more and more that I'm really claustrophobic.
Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
and it's becoming a real problem, right? So, but
yeah,
it's there.
I feel like that's a common anxiety, but the reality is, anxiety does feel like a real problem.
Yeah.
But here's something, okay? We got to remember this. Anxiety exists to tell us something important.
Yeah, you're right. Anxiety might be telling us, okay, something's wrong right now. Like I'm in danger, okay? Or it might be telling us something about our bodies, like I'm hurt, right? Or this relationship, okay? Or basic needs, I'm hungry, or I'm thirsty, or I need more coffee, right?
Yes.
But the goal is, the key here when it comes to when we have those anxious feelings is to learn to listen.
Okay, so anxiety is a feeling that exists to tell us something, and we need to learn to listen.
Right.
Okay, so where's God? Right? We gotta answer, where does God fit in to these experiences of anxiety?
All right, that is a really good question, okay? But in order to answer that, right, let's grab your Bibles for a second, okay? And I want you to look at Mark chapter 4, okay?
Mark 4.
Yeah, Mark chapter 4, verses 35 to 41. Okay. And so in this moment in recorded history, let me just kind of set it up first. So Jesus and his disciples are doing what they do. They're involved in their ministry, and they're helping people, and they're ministering to people, and they're just doing all these great things. And Jesus is speaking, and the disciples are doing disciple things, right?
Right.
And all of a sudden they decide that, you know what, we need a break, okay? And so Jesus comes up with this great idea. So why don't you start reading there in verse 35.
All right. So as the evening came, Jesus said to his disciples, "Let's cross to the other side of the lake." So they took Jesus in the boat and started out, leaving the crowds behind, although other boats followed. But soon a fierce storm came up. High waves were breaking into the boat, and it began to fill with water. Jesus was sleeping at the back of the boat and his head on a cushion. The disciples woke him up, shouting, "Teacher, don't you care that we're going to drown?" When Jesus woke up, he rebuked the wind and said to the waves, "Silence, be still." Suddenly, the wind stopped, and there was a great calm. Then he asked them, "Why are you afraid? Do you still have no faith?"
Yeah. So this is one of the great stories recorded in the gospel.
Boom.
But so many times we read this, right? And we just kind of go on, oh, wow, look at the cool thing Jesus did.
Right.
But I think what we got to do is we got to read these stories, right, through a different lens. Like we got to say, okay, what's really happening here in this story? Because let's be real, these guys found themselves in a situation and their anxiety was through the roof, okay? I mean, they were living in a very anxious moment and their anxiety was saying, hey, we're in trouble here, okay? And then they had these feelings like, we're afraid,
Right.
okay? Right? Now, I need us to understand something about anxiety, okay? So I want you to get this. Anxiety is not the problem. Did you hear me? Okay.
Say it again.
So,
You gotta say it again.
All right. Anxiety is not the problem.
Okay, what is the problem?
Okay. The problem is what's causing the anxiety.
Bingo.
All right. Game changer, right?
Yep.
See, so many times what we do is that, we fight against the feelings of anxiety instead of dealing with what's causing the anxiety. Okay. What's causing me to feel anxious in the first place? For the guys, it was the storm.
Yep,
Right?
that's right.
Yeah. And so many times, what do we do? Okay. It was like we have those moments in our lives and we're starting to feel anxious and, we have all these feelings, all these emotions. And then what do? We get mad at God, right? And, for allowing all this stuff to happen in our lives. I mean, the guys did it right here.
Yeah.
They did
His
the same
disciples.
thing. The
Yeah.
disciples.
Yeah.
They were like, well, there's this storm. And so what do? They go back and they yell at Jesus, right? Now, nowhere in Scripture does it say that, God caused the storm or he knew the storm was coming and he decided to go out and boat anyway. No, the reality was they were just doing life together and they went out for a boat ride, and they found themselves in an anxious situation. And listen, look at their response to Jesus. They allowed their anxiety to get the best of them.
Right. Okay, so what's happening in your life that's causing anxiety, right? That's causing you to feel anxious. Like, I don't know, maybe it's your busy schedule and you're just trying to juggle way too many things. Or maybe it's the pressure to get good grades at school. Maybe it's a conflict at home or with a friend.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's even a habit that you've developed and you know that it's not helping you. You know that this habit is not good.
Yeah, because when anxiety, takes control, what does it do? I mean, it makes us feel uneasy, right?
Yep.
And so what do? Right? So we had the anxiety moment and these things are happening. And so we try different things to make that unsteady feeling go away. I mean, we call these coping strategies, right? And in the story, okay, that we just read, the coping strategy was what? To get mad and blame Jesus for not caring.
Right.
Probably not a good coping strategy.
Probably not.
No.
Now, okay, some of you, or maybe someone they may be using alcohol or drugs or even self-harm as a coping strategy. And sure, maybe these things might numb the feelings, but you need to know that these things can actually cause even more problems.
Yeah,
Okay.
like when I was a teenager, and I don't really go back to my teenage years a whole lot, but when I was a teenager, I did struggle with some stuff. And one of the things that I really struggled with was those feelings of insecurity, right?
Okay.
And I'm not saying that all teenagers struggle, but I think a lot of you do struggle with that feeling of insecurity. And for me, it was not only being insecure, but I just didn't want to be alone, right? So I would just go from one relationship to another. And of course, this created, a reputation, that, I probably deserved, but it also created, these regrets. And so I just got stuck in this cycle of, hoping that, okay, the next relationship will be better. The next relationship will make me feel better, And so instead of dealing with me, I just kept doing the same thing over and over again, and it didn't help. It just made the situation worse.
Yeah, like the worst thing that we can do, or that you can do, is actually ignore whatever it is that's causing the anxiety, right? Because when you ignore it, it actually ends up causing other problems like depression, say.
Yeah.
But here's the good news. Okay?
Okay.
We got good news. When we listen to what our anxiety is actually saying, we can choose to respond in a healthy way with a healthy coping strategy, like you mentioned. Okay, so here's the thing. Anxiety doesn't have to take you down a dangerous path.
Yeah, and so back to my story for a second.
Right.
It wasn't until I took responsibility for what I was doing, like going, hey, what I'm doing isn't working, and I'm causing more damage, and I'm going down in a direction I really shouldn't be going.
Right.
And it was then I just kind of had this turnaround moment, and I just acknowledged God, and I'm like, God, I need your help. And then I also went and got help from other people, right? Which was good.
Yeah.
And it was just like the guys in our story, I'm sure they were trying to cope on their own for a little bit. And then finally they just kind of went, we can't do this on our own. Let's go get Jesus, right? And this is why this story is so great.
Yeah, we need to acknowledge that our anxiety is trying to tell us something.
That's right.
Like, listen, anxiety is not your enemy. It can actually be your friend.
Oh, that's good.
Right? Like, it can tell you what's wrong so that you can actually do something about it.
Yes. So if we go back to the story, okay, we go back to, to the Bible. Maybe you that are listening right now, maybe you feel that you have found yourself, like right now, you're in this anxious situation and you're kind of freaking out. And, you feel like if you're alone and you're just going to fall apart. And maybe you're like, well, hey, Roger, I tried to look to Jesus, but it just seems like he's asleep and he's somewhere else and he really doesn't care. I want to reassure you that God is not asleep. I mean, he's right there with you. He sees what you're going through and he cares about you. He's right there with you. You just need to acknowledge him, right?
All right. So let us give you 3 coping strategies that's going to help you in those moments where you actually do feel anxious.
All right.
All right?
Okay, so number 1.
Give them number 1.
All right, number 1 is look up, okay? Seriously, when you're going through those anxious times in your life, okay, when you're having all those feelings, right? Hit the pause button, okay? Hit the pause button and say, hey, I just need to acknowledge God right now. So take your eyes off of your circumstances and look up to God and say, God, I don't feel you right now, but I know that you care about me. I know you can help me. So God, I just need you right now. Okay? Just look up.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right. Number 1, look up. Number 2, look inside. All right? Like what's my responsibility? What do I need to change, or what do I need to do?
Yeah.
Right? Just look inside. You've got to take responsibility for some of it.
That's right. And so we look up.
Okay.
Right? So we look up and acknowledge God. We're going to look in and go, okay, what do I have to do?
That's right.
And the third thing, we want you to look around. And you're like, what do you mean, look around? Yes, look around and see who is in your life that you can actually go and talk to.
Yeah.
Right? So that you go to somebody, right? And say, hey, I'm looking up to God and I'm trying to take responsibility, but I need help. All right. So just go to someone and just say, hey, can you help me? I'm dealing with this or I'm dealing with that. And it's so important. You're not meant to do life on your own, right? So go to a parent, go to a coach, right? For that matter, right? Find one of your youth leaders and go to them. Right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Man, so good. All 3. All right. So we've talked about a lot.
Yes.
Roger, can you pull out a verse that just ties all of this together.
Well, the one that comes to my mind would be Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6.
Okay.
And so let me just kind of flip to that. All right. And so this is what it says. It says, and I think it's so true through everything that we've talked about. And the verse says, trust in the Lord. Okay?
That's a good point.
It's just good. Just
Yeah.
trust in the Lord, right? With all your heart. So no matter what, 100% trust in the Lord. Don't lean on your own understanding. And that's some of the things that we do. We try to figure it out on our own. Like we lean on to what we think is best, right? But sometimes we don't know what's best, right? So we need to acknowledge God with all of our heart. Don't lean on our own understanding, right? But then it says here, seek His will in all that we do. Like God, what do you want me to do in this moment, right? And I think, He will show you which path to take. He's going to show you the way out. Okay? He may not stand up like He did in the boat with the guys and tell the wind to be still. Right. That's a great story. But He may simply say, hey, I see what you're going through, right? But I'm going to help you to get through it because on the other side of this, you're going to be better.
That's right. And it takes work, right?
Oh my gosh.
It's not as easy as 1, 2, 3.
No. You got to commit to this,
right?
Like you just can't throw your hands up in defeat. You got to say, okay, I'm going to put the work in.
That's right.
Right. And we also have had to realize as well that anxiety is a big issue, right? And some of you, it may not be this simple. You may need to go and talk to a psychiatrist.
That's right.
Right. Today, we just want to kind of give you some practical advice.
That's right. We got the conversation started.
Yes.
Right. And there's more to it.
Yeah, there has to be more.
There has to be more. But okay, it's a good place to stop.
I think so.
Okay. All right, let's stop here.
Yeah.
Pick it up next week.
Absolutely, right? So listen, reach out, look inside, and look up. And we really believe that could help you this week. So until next time, I want to encourage you to be good, right? Keep having fun. And of course, keep living God out loud, right? So until next time.
All right.
See you guys later.
See you later.